Welcome back to 2 Minute Tuesday, guys, and today I've got something that's fairly important to talk about. So it's going to disagree with about 90% of what you hear from other photographers on YouTube. So let's get started. So I'm not trying to cause a big uproar over this, but in over 40 years I've trained a lot of photographers. And what I see all over YouTube are photographers telling you to shoot aperture priority, aperture priority. And that's fine. Aperture priority is very good. I use it all the time. But if you're a beginner, you might want to look at shutter priority first. For example, have you shot any pictures that look a little bit blurry and you had it on shutter priority because you're trying to get the blurry background, so you put it down at 2.8? What that is you're getting your shutter at 2.8, but there's not enough light, so the camera's dropping your shutter speed down to say 1/30th or 1/15th of a second, and it's causing your images to blur. But if you want sharp pictures, like I shot here of Derek Jeter in spring training many years ago, take a look at these. Then go with shutter priority. It is easier to sell a picture, say if you're shooting a wedding, it is easier to sell a picture that doesn't have a blurry background, but the picture is sharp, than sell a background that is blurry and has a blurry background. So you don't want that. I'm not opposed to aperture priority. I shoot aperture priority a lot, but you need to familiarize yourself a little bit with shutter priority before you start into aperture priority. So if you're shooting with a 50mm lens, set your shutter speed on 1/60th of a second. If you're shooting 200mm lens, set it on 1/200 or 1/250th of a second. Let your camera choose your aperture. Don't worry about the blurry background so much for the moment. The biggest thing is get your picture in focus and get it razor sharp. Like also, for example, with shutter priority, you can do the opposite with your shutter. You can make it slow. So check out the picture of this waterfall. Now that is a waterfall that was shot, I don't remember the exact specs, I'd have to look, but it was probably at half a second, somewhere right in there. So you can use that to show motion also. So you can either freeze motion or show motion with your shutter speed. Don't worry when you're just starting about getting the blurry background all the time. First thing you want to get are sharp pictures that are in focus. Once you get that down, then you can go over to aperture priority once you understand the settings a little bit more. Just to make it a little bit more clear, in aperture priority, your camera is choosing the shutter speed, and it may drop it too low, which will cause your images to blur. When you change your shutter priority and you take control over the shutter, then you remove the fear of having a blurry image. You know it's not going to be blurry. So that's why I think you guys should start with shutter priority and not aperture priority. So master your shutter speed and master your motion, whether it's slow or fast. Then you can progress on up to aperture priority and on into manual. So nothing wrong with aperture priority. Again, it's great. I use it all the time. But for beginners, I highly suggest shutter priority. Again, look at the lens. If you're shooting with a 50mm lens, set it on 1/60th of a second. If you're shooting with a 100mm lens, set it on 1/25th of a second. 200mm, go to 1/200 or 1/250. Equal or a little higher than what your lens is, and then you won't have to worry about blur. Anyway, guys, hope that tip is helpful. I appreciate it. If you're helping out, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. You guys have a great day. Thank you.